Hi, my name is Sarah. I'm an English teacher and language anxiety coach. And in this video, I'm going to talk a little bit about fear and anxiety at C levels and beyond. So, strangely, it's often the very high level learners who have the most fear and anxiety around speaking and using English. And this is because I think by C levels, you're very aware, or you should be aware, of your mistakes. And it's frustrating because you feel like you shouldn't really be making mistakes. You know, you're at C1. Why are you still getting the verb forms wrong? You're at C2. Why are you still having problems with prepositions? This is crazy. You know, you've been learning English for 15 years, 20 years, and yet you still find yourself making mistakes. And that is really frustrating. And it fills you with doubt, because if you're still making those mistakes, there might be more that you don't know about. Now, C-level learners often have very, very, very high expectations of themselves and their abilities. And it's not uncommon to hear people who say things like, I should be perfect, I should be fluent, I shouldn't make mistakes, my pronunciation should be better. There tends to be a lot of shoulds at the C level, and should, when we use it against ourselves like that, is not healthy. It's not healthy to say to yourself, you should be fluent, because then you're really directing anger at yourself. And having those expectations of perfection or fluency or whatever, if you feel that they are a mismatch with where you are, that causes huge frustration for C-level learners. Yeah, why? Why can't I get this right? Now, most people will then go and blame themselves. You know, it's my fault, I'm terrible, I'm stupid, I'm an idiot, I can't do it, no. But I would actually flip that around, and maybe instead of just blaming yourself, checking in with why these things are important for you. You know, is it necessary? Is it really necessary that you don't make mistakes with verb forms? Like, who cares if you make a mistake with a verb form? Really, seriously, who cares? I don't care. I mean, if it's in a lesson, I'll correct it, but I don't care if you make a mistake with a verb form. Who cares if you forget an article? In the real world, tell me a person who cares if you don't use the before a word. I can't think of anybody, honestly. You know, again, in the lesson I'll correct it. If I'm talking to someone outside, I'm much more interested in what they think and what they feel than whether they use an article correctly. That's boring. It is. So, you know, this need to be perfect, where is that really coming from? Is that from an external source? Is that your boss saying you should be perfect? Your partner saying you should be perfect? Or is it you? Like, somehow you're like, I need to be perfect. But why? Where does that need come from in you? Why do you feel like you need to be perfect? And I think that by, maybe instead of accepting that, maybe by exploring that a little bit, perhaps with your teacher or a coach or a friend, or even by yourself, you might find some surprising answers. Why do I need to be perfect? Write it down in a book, in a journal, and think about it. Why? You know, and another good question to ask could be, what are my expectations of myself? And are they fair? You know, if you're expecting yourself to have the exact same level, see, mistake with an article, the exact same level as a native speaker, is that fair? Is it really fair? You know, there's been some research that shows that it takes 30 years, that's 30 years, to learn a language. 30. So if you've been learning English for 20 years, yeah, that's a really long time. But if, you know, you've learned it as a second language, you haven't had the exposure that a native speaker has, you haven't had those hours and hours and hours and hours and hours of being surrounded by it, you haven't had as much input. Yeah, so for an adult learner of English to achieve 30 years worth of English input, that's going to take a really long time. Yeah, so are your expectations realistic? Are they fair on yourself? So yeah, anyway, those are things that you can think about instead of just accepting your belief that you must be perfect, you should be fluent, everything's got to be right, it's terrible that you make a mistake. Flip it round and ask yourself why do I believe that? Why do I feel that? Is that really healthy for me? And I'm just going to end this by saying that the overwhelming majority of English native speakers know nothing about grammar. Nothing at all. And they don't care about grammar at all. So worrying about your grammar mistakes is a waste of your time, because we don't care, honestly. As long as you can express yourself clearly, that's the most important thing. Pronunciation is important because obviously it helps people understand you. And finally, if you really want to improve your English, idiomatic, colloquial phrases are really important. I would say for those beyond C2, if you want to sound more natural, look at the vocabulary and look at pronunciation, and look for those really informal, relaxed ways of expressing stuff, because most of what we say is informal speaking. Anyway, have a lovely day. Thank you for watching this video, and I will catch you next time.